Where did the abyss come from? No, I'm not talking about where it came from in the context of the story, the lore behind it. I mean, where did the concept of the abyss come from? What was its creative inspiration? Surely something so inspired, and so effective at capturing the imagination, is actually inspired by something else, something that captured its creator's own imagination. Well, as serendipity would have it, as a child I had my imagination captured by what I believe to be those same things that inspired the abyss, so let's dive right in. My first big career aspiration was to be a marine biologist. Back when I still thought making out was how people got pregnant, and still had years to go before that thought would be corrected, I could explain to you the precise biological mechanics of squid reproduction. I owe that proud history in large part to an episode of the acclaimed BBC documentary series, The Blue Planet.
Come on a journey into the abyss.
Did you catch that? Let's go back and get it on instant replay.
Into the abyss.
Now, that may seem silly and mostly incidental, but I promise that the connection runs deeper. The first thing you get if you Google The Abyss is a James Cameron film about aliens living underwater and stuff, but there's a reason for the prevalence of the term abyss in media on this subject. You see, just like the abyss of Maiden Abyss, the ocean is divided into layers based upon depth, each layer having particular aspects to its environment, and each one becoming increasingly more inhospitable. Ignore all this Latin gobbledygook. The colloquial name for this first layer is the sunlight zone. As we descend, we soon reach the twilight zone. Diving deeper still, we eventually get to the midnight zone. And if you manage to get your hands on one of the 5 submersibles in the world that can survive reaching its depths, you can go past even the midnight zone and into the abyssal zone. Or, as it's also called, the abyss. This aspect of layers, or levels to things, is an engrossing one. It organizes them into a discernible pattern, which our human brains enjoy oh so much, and in the context of the narrative, gives us a bunch of successive short-term goals to work towards, checkpoints if you will. What makes this parallel even stronger is that the specific interaction of sunlight with each layer of the abyss and the effect that interaction has in shaping its environment is specifically noted in the series. As you likely noticed, these oceanic zones are named according to their light levels, and the form life occupying them takes is heavily influenced by that light. In the twilight zone, you get massive eyes attempting to take in the feeble light, while potential prey fight back by producing their own light to match what's filtering in from above, and so blend in against it. Whereas in the midnight zone and down, detection through sight is largely abandoned due to the impossibility of such a feat, in favor of other methods of finding prey. When you join together the very prominent foundational similarities like the concept of increasingly harsh layers, the bottom one literally being called the abyssal zone, with these more minute details like the interaction of light with each layer, and then throw in stuff like the creature with the most distinctive design and prominence in the story to this point, the Crimson Splitjaw, being quite similar to a bunch of deep-sea creatures, this inspiration seems extremely likely. It also helps us hit at the core of this series' appeal. The 2 most engrossing elements about the deep sea, and about the abyss, are the mystery and the possibilities. Those 2 are intertwined, but they are not the same thing. The mystery is, of course, the unknown. It is said of the deep ocean that we know less about it than about the surface of the moon, and of the Mariana Trench, the ocean's deepest region, that we know less about it than the surface of Mars. Less than 5% of the ocean has been explored, and on a consistent basis, individual dives into the deep ocean will result in the discovery of dozens of new species. Similarly, as Rico and Reg descend further and further, they travel into territory about which they have less and less concrete information, with the ultimate goal being to reach a place entirely unknown, the bottom of the abyss, and uncover what exactly such a place would be like. What really makes that mystery work, however, is the possibilities we know to exist. With total mystery, you could take things in any direction, and there's nothing whatsoever to guide your imagination, or suggest what that mystery might be. Whereas in Maiden Abyss, we've got legend and rumor. Whatever scant information has been able to make its way to the surface on one of those extremely rare mail balloons that get all the way back up from the lower layers. It's just like how the megalodon, the prehistoric shark known to have grown to 60, perhaps 80 feet in length, is something people still hold out hope for, believing that just like other oceanic species that were presumed to have gone extinct only to be rediscovered, this monstrous, captivating creature may still live on, hidden away in that unexplored 95%. As a creator, you can't just lay out an entirely blank canvas. You've got to draw up the blueprint of your world, and leave the audience conjecturing about what furniture might be inside those rooms, and how it's all arranged. One of the most evocative rooms sketched out in this documentary was over half a mile down.
At the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, they came across what appeared to be an underwater lake, over 20 meters long, with its own sandy shore.
An underwater lake. How metal is that shit? Try to tell me that that wouldn't fit right in with the other weird locations of the abyss, like the inverted forest and its upward flowing waterfalls. Instantly, and for weeks afterwards, I was wondering about what world existed inside that body of water contained beneath this body of water. What strange ecosystem had taken shape in this abyss within the abyss? With the imagery for the entrance to Layer 2 being similar, another hole marking a sort of second abyss to descend into, the idea that this lake inspired that imagery, while admittedly somewhat tenuous, is something I'd like to believe to be the case. Oh, and by the way, there's actually a live-action adaptation of Maiden Abyss being produced, and I've got some exclusive images of the set. Okay, I lied. But, as you can see, the great blue hole here bears a decent resemblance to the abyss. Giant hole in the middle of the ocean ringed by a landmass. It's the activity that takes place here that really creates a parallel, though. With the deep ocean and its layers, we've got the basis for the abyss, but what about the cave raiders that go down into it? The Belize Great Blue Hole and other submarine sinkholes like it are popular spots for cave diving. This is considered to be one of the most deadly extreme recreational activities on Earth, where there's a very real risk of getting lost, tangled up in your line, or getting too deep into the dense, dark cave networks and being unable to find your way back to the surface before running out of air. Now, the death rate isn't extraordinarily high. Out of a few thousand cave divers worldwide, there's an average of 10 deaths a year, but that acceptance of the risk being taken and a higher priority given to that thrill of exploration and discovery that the cave raiders possess is one shared by these cave divers.
My best friend died 2 years ago in the cave in France, so I have experienced how it is like. So you know what can happen if you are not thinking right.
This is the real nail in the coffin of any lingering doubt, however. Deep diving, in caves or otherwise, carries with it some very unique and particular risks. Here's another one of those gnarly as fuck names. The first danger is called
the Rapture of the Deep.
Oh, that's really cool. Okay, sorry. To put it more technically, this is also referred to as nitrogen narcosis, basically a state of altered consciousness caused by inhaling the gas at the pressures it's compressed to on deep dives to make it breathable. At early stages, it can cause feelings of calmness or relaxation, eventually impairing judgment, similar to alcohol intoxication, but as one dives deeper, the symptoms can get as severe as extreme anxiety, depression, or paranoia, and then hallucinations. There's even a chart, akin to the guideline for the Curse of the Abyss, detailing what symptoms of the Rapture of the Deep you can expect at what depth. The other danger is perhaps even more direct a parallel, though. Decompression sickness, or the bends, is a host of symptoms divers can experience when ascending up out of the ocean, with worse symptoms the deeper they were. Yes, this is literally just the Curse of the Abyss. This one is caused by the difference in pressure between deep waters and the surface. Bubbles of compressed air will get trapped in the bloodstream, and if you don't ascend slowly and take short breaks at specific depths along the way to let that pressure reacclimate itself, you can suffer aches and pains, nausea, and in the most extreme cases, death. It seems almost undeniable that if nothing else, the negative symptoms of deep diving were a direct inspiration for the mechanics of the Curse of the Abyss. And with that being the case, it seems pretty likely that mangaka Akihito Tsukushi had some of the same weird interests that I did growing up, and drew upon them when creating this series. It's one thing to create a story about something that we as humans are fascinated by, like the reaches of space and what alien life it may contain. However, what Tsukushi did with Maiden Abyss was take something that we've been weaving legends about and pondering the secrets of for centuries, with our tales of krakens and leviathans, get at the heart of that intrigue, and then craft their own original world around that fascination, transplanting it into a new context. Maiden Abyss is able to tell a fairly new and exciting story that remains rooted in a fundamental, timeless appeal. I mean, with such universally appealing elements as listening to the screams of a 12-year-old girl while someone tries to remove the glove that's been fused to her horrifically bloated hand, how could Maiden Abyss not succeed in capturing the hearts of audience members everywhere? I really do think this deep sea life is some of the absolute coolest stuff on our planet though, so I'll link this episode of the documentary in the comments if you want to watch it. The excuse I got to rewatch it by making this video made the whole thing worthwhile. A big thank you to Car Keys, Skylar Morrow, Nadeto64, Magic Dragon, Mackenzie Knowles, Keiko Cat, Christian Emery, Presto Puma, Laugher Style, Omi Fomi, Garbage Burner, Ducky, Marcus Gand, Sam Lossaraptor, Tyler aka Gigs, Shoko Asahara, Lord Liquid Bacon II, Izumi69, Kieran Rice, Valkion, Teencho37, Taktoa, Cherry Boy Writer, MathWiz97, Joji Matthews, Culver James Kamai, Shofty, Saudos Tenjin, Saiker, Zeria, Macaulay Wentz, Sakamoto Mio, Darian De Sotel, Joaquim Alfelt, Capsize, and all my other patrons for somehow granting me the opportunity to make a living off of dumping like 4 childhood years' worth of study into a video about cartoons.